So I've got to ask, this is probably the most iconic Les Paul in rock history.
Well, it's one of the good stories, yeah. It does have a good story.
Come on, spill the details.
Well, I'll try and get to the point. There's a lot of points there. When I was playing with Humble Pie in 1971 in San Francisco, I had swapped my SG guitar that I was using at the time for a 335 Gibson, and with Humble Pie, we played so loud that every time I turned up for a solo, my solo consisted of which probably would be good now, but then it wasn't so good. So anyway, a friend of mine in the audience said, "Look, I couldn't help but see you've got problems there. We're playing at the Fillmore West for like 3 or 4 nights," and he said, "I could bring you Les Paul." I said, "I'm not really big on Les Pauls, I like SGs and stuff." And he said, "Well," I said, "anything's better than this." So he brought it the next. I played it that night, and I don't think my feet touched the ground because it was so great, and it didn't feed back, which was great. And so when I came off stage that night, I just said I gave it back to him, and Mark Mariana is his name, and from the Bay Area, and he said, I said, "I don't think you'd ever sell this, would you?" And he said, "No." I said, "Well, that's fine. Thank you so much." He said, "No, I'm going to give it to you." So, like jaw dropping. Say that again. So, yes, he gave me this guitar in 1971.
Now, did it have the 3 pickups in it
at that point? It had just come back from Gibson it was originally a 1954 Black Beauty. So it had the old P90s, the 2 different looking ones, right?
Yeah, the Alnico and the...
yes.
Yeah.
And no middle pickup. And I don't believe it was black. And so he had it. I'm not sure if Mark actually routed it for a 3rd pickup or whether he had Gibson do it, but he sent it back to them and said, "Look," after he'd done a lot of sanding and the body is thinner than... He was getting off the old paint job, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
The body is a little bit thinner because of his slightly heavy hand, and the neck as well, which is why I love it so much. And so he had them route it for 3 humbuckers, and then he wired it, I believe, the same way as I have it now, which is if you forget about the middle pickup, the selector switch and goes straight to this volume, and this volume is a master volume for these 2, the neck and the bridge position. Sure. Right? So that's there's the bridge, and the neck, and then the 2, and then if we turn that off, there's no switch for the middle position, but if you turn the bottom volume up,
right,
which gives you a big fat middle strat sound,
right.
So if you bring it in with, let's see, got that stratty sound,
Totally.
And so I dial that in whenever I feel like it, and so that's the way it's. And then that's the master tone for these 2, and that's the tone for the center one. So same thing. But anyway, so then I used it from 1970. He gave it to me, not 1971, until 1980, and we went to. So it was on every record I played on, my own, other people's projects, and then we went to South America for a tour in 1980, and we'd done Brazil and Argentina, and we were on our way to Panama to see Mr. Noriega at the time. Right. And So who we almost saw. And unfortunately, we had a day off, so the equipment, we were flying commercially and having the gear underneath, you know. But we went separately because of a day off to Panama, and then the gear went on a cargo plane which crashed in Caracas, Venezuela on takeoff. So the only thing that was salvageable at all was, as usual, the tail of the plane. Well, we were told that everything was, I mean, it was 6-8 hours of just a huge inferno, you know.
Wow. Unfortunately,
people, the pilots and the loading people, we lost them. So that was very, very sad. And then I was told, I was having lunch in Panama by my tour manager, we've had a problem, you know, and I said, first thing I said was, oh gosh, does that mean my guitar? He said, yeah. So, and then he told me the tragedy of it all, and the guitar didn't seem to matter anymore at that point. And so I pretty much for the next 30 years mourned it and thought, oh, I bet it sounds like the best guitar in the world, you know. And every Les Paul I picked up sounded, nah, I don't think this is how you don't know though.
Right.
You've got no A-B.
Sure.
You know, so anyway, about 4 years ago, I guess now, or more, 5 years ago, when I'll have to work that out because I got it back when Frampton Comes Alive 35 came out. So 5 years ago, just before, maybe 6. So yeah. So and I opened up my peterframpton.com contact Peter here emails, and which I look at them all, and there's an email saying check this out, and there's probably 12 or 15 forensically taken shots of this guitar with its white Seymour Duncans that it had on at the time. And, you know, with this here, and I knew it inside out. And as soon as I saw a picture with the pickups out, and I saw the way it had been routed, I've been inside there many times and checked it out and stuff. So I knew it was mine. It was pretty obvious, but I didn't agree with the chap who had it. But there's a sort of gray area there. Someone obviously stole it from we think the guard who was guarding the debris of the plane thought that the guitars, which had obviously made it in the tail of the broken off tail. So they said that there were, this is 30 years later, they said there were like 4 or 5 guitars that made it, and they were all sold, you know. And because when we went down there a week after the crash, they said, oh no, everything went up in flames. So it ended up being played by a musician in Caracas for like 15 years. And then people started saying, that looks an awful lot like, apparently. So then he went down to, he sold it to someone who lived in Curacao, and that's where it ended up. And the son of the person that ended up with it took it to a luthier to be worked on because it wouldn't play very well. And so that was the guy that actually took it apart, took pictures.
Wow,
and
tipped you off?
Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
So it took another 2 years to convince everybody that was involved that we weren't going to have the FBI waiting at Miami airport for them. And eventually we met here in a hotel in Nashville, and I had, you know, video cameras going. I wanted to get the whole bit, you know. Right. And it walks in the door in this horrible vinyl guitar cover. I wouldn't even call it a case. You know, Peter, here it is. You know, feel the weight, Peter. Do you know this is the one? And because it is a light Les Paul, it's for a mahogany one. And so then I got it out, and that video is online, and you can see it on FCA 35 video.
Oh, I've got to see it.
Yeah, it's 20 minutes long. So that's how I got it back, and then we went straight from the hotel room. We went straight to Gibson, and verified, you know, everything about it. And they took it apart and said that it was a 54, that you could see where it was originally conceived as a Black Beauty, you know. So.
Wow. You heard it here.